here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Everybody, welcome to our 2021 Business Alumni Chat. This is a chance for our current business majors to connect with some of our previous business majors who have graduated from Green River College, gone on to four-year schools, and in many cases, they're now working out in the real world or studying for more education before working out in the real world. So first, I'd like to welcome our three panelists, and let's go ahead. We're going to go in order that you appear on my screen. So Yahyah, could you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks first of all for having us here. Appreciate it. So my name is Yahyah Gahbiche. I am an international student from Tunisia. I came to the US and started going to GRC in 2015. I studied business, so I didn't have anything, like it was a general business degree, Associates of Art. And I did 2 years there, so I graduated in 2017. Definitely got involved a little bit here and there with clubs and with Clio. And then after that, I applied for a job. So I did OPT, applied there and applied for a job at Amazon. I applied for a bunch of other jobs, obviously, but I got one there. It was entry level. It was just a good way to put my foot in the door. Then after that, I did 1 year. So that was 2018. In 2019, I transferred to Seattle University, and I studied business analytics there, data analytics, whatever you want to call it, data science. It's like the baby version of a data science.
Sure.
And then, yeah, so at 2019 to 2020, sadly, it happened with the pandemic. So I graduated, finished 2 quarters remotely. And after that, I applied for another job with OPT and went back to Amazon. And here I am today.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Yahyah. Just a little trivia. Yahyah was my first OPT application.
Yes.
So
correct.
Yeah. It worked out really well.
A good example here.
Batting 1,000 from the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
So just again, going in the direction of my screen, Zach, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone on the call. Zach here, originally from Singapore. Came over to the US in 2016, where I started at GRC. Also did business management. Zach was my advisor, really loved it. Transferred to UW in the fall of 2018. And did finance and international business at UW at the Foster School. And then I did an internship at Expedia with their corporate finance department in the summer of 2019. And then graduated in 2020. And now I'm starting, now I'm at Bain & Company, a management consulting firm. And I have been there since September of last year. So now I'm with our private equity group. And yeah, enjoying it so far.
All right, very cool. And finally, Nike, if you can hear us, can you introduce yourself briefly?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Coming through just fine.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Nike. I'm originally from Indonesia, and I came to Green River in 2016. Got my AA and AB there, graduated in 2018, and then I transferred to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, UC, and got my degree in accountancy for my bachelor's. And then I graduated May 2020. I did my CPT in a data science startup during my junior year. And then afterwards, I did my OPT. I actually took a year off after my bachelor's. So I did an internship in a real estate company and also Ernst & Young, one of the big 4 accountancy firms. And then I'm going to start my master's in accounting this coming fall.
All right. Very, very cool. Well, thank you guys very much. Definitely, you guys have definitely left a a big trail for students to follow, I think. So it's great that you're all here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to turn it over to some questions. And so Leap, I think you had our first question. Do you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Yes, definitely. Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for sharing and introducing yourselves. So, my question to you guys is, what made you guys, what were the schools that you were looking at when you were transferring, and why did you chose the school that you chose?
Yeah. Same order, I guess. Yeah. Do you want to kick us off?
Oh yeah, sure. Good question. My case is I would say it's slightly different from a lot of my friends back then when they applied for so many universities hoping to get into one. So in 2018, when I was working at Amazon, I discovered the world of data, you could say, and more like the real application of it in like the Amazon app and website and everything. And so I wanted to I want to stay in Seattle, right? And so I was looking at universities, and there was mostly Seattle University and UW at the time that I was thinking about. So I narrowed down my choice based on what I was doing. And then I've looked at the programs. So that was my main, I would say, criteria. And I looked at Seattle U seems more reasonable. They offered better scholarship than UW. UW has a great program of business analytics or data analytics, they call. And so I applied for Seattle U and actually PSU, Portland State University, as my backup. So I got into SU, and that was pretty straightforward from there.
That's cool. Yeah. So a lot of times, and I encourage this a lot of my students too, is that OPT can inform a lot of times what major you're going to want to go into. And so I think OPT is great for that, because you do get some of that real world experience.
Absolutely.
Zach, what was your kind of transfer journey?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely in the camp of applying for a lot of them and trying to open up cast a wide net there. And I think looking back, it was because I knew I wanted to do something business related, but at that time I wasn't sure which specific focus, whether is it accounting, whether is it marketing, whether is it finance. I wasn't too sure in where I wanted to go in yet. I think I was still pretty too early in my education journey to tell. And so because of that, I think my strategy was just going for the best overall business programs that I could, get myself into. And so I applied for a ton of them, like the UC schools. And I'm sure Zach remember, I applied for a really a lot of them.
It's like 10 or 11, I think.
Yeah, I applied for a lot of them, and the reason why I got into UW was just that was the only school that accepted me. The rest I didn't get in, so I can't really speak to how I chose it. But honestly, I think I feel really lucky that I got to UW, because my journey at UW has been incredible so far, and I don't think I will be here if I didn't have that experience at UW. So
awesome. And Nike, tell us a little bit about your transfer journey.
Yeah, sure thing. Mine is the exact opposite of Zach's. I didn't apply to many universities because, first of all, I'm lazy and I hate making essays. So, well, from the very beginning, I know I want to do accounting. So I just look up schools that are that have good accounting programs. And one of the reasons why I used UIUC is because at that time it was second best after UT Austin, and because Indonesia, one of the Ministry of Finance went to UIUC, that's also a factor that made me go there. And because it's a target school for accounting, so it's much easier to get a job to go to a school that is specialized in the major, because then companies would go to those schools to recruit new employees.
Very cool. So yeah, I think a lot of the themes that we're coming up seeing here again are a lot of things that we talk about at Green River, stuff like scholarships, stuff like opportunities to get in, but then also things like who are the previous alumni there and how specialized are the programs. So those all are definitely big factors that come in when you're looking at those schools. Awesome, thank you guys. Okay, Elena, let's go ahead and move on. What's a question that you have?
So I'm an international student, so I thought international students have kind of com, com I think compared to local students, like we have lower possibility to get a job or have CPA or OPT. So I wanted to know, like, is there some kind of certificate or any experiences that makes me a strong applicant for having a job in US?
Good question. So basically, as an international student on something like OPT, that OPT is limited, or doing something like CPT. Yeah, what kind of strategies did you guys have, or what did you discover through your experience of working or getting a job? Um, let's go backwards this time. Nike, do you have any advice?
Yeah, sure thing. So, well, getting an OPT and getting a job is two different things because I have a couple of my friends that already had a job offer, but then they don't get approved for OPT or CPT. So, as for getting a job, really is my advice to be just get involved in school clubs and organizations. Personally, for me, I just focused on a volunteering club, so it shows like your hello. Am I cut off?
No, you're still there.
Okay. That you're like well rounded and involved in community service, and the other club that I was into is actually a consulting firm that hosted by the school. So we do pro bono consulting services towards businesses in the Chicago area, and that I think that really is a selling point for me. And additionally, if you have any interest outside of your school, so for me, I took the most random classes. I took a class on 3D printing, and like they talk about robotics and stuff and the new technology, and I was able to use that to talk about during my interviews. That and I think that made me stood up more because everyone has their own clubs, but just to find something that makes you unique and just something that you're really passionate about that you can talk about literally for hours is a good selling point. And as for OPT, my tip is to be really tedious or like because they're very precise on the application deadline and how you take pictures on the application and those kind of stuff. So just be really detailed on looking at that application and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The application actually has now gone online. This isn't in like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and so it's made it much more streamlined, which is great for myself and for students. But if you're at Green River anyway, come check with your advisor, and we'll help you fill out that application. Maybe doing it once with us will make it a little bit less of a chore when you do it at your bachelor's degree level. But yeah, really good advice. Zach, what do you have to say?
Yeah, definitely echo everything that Nike said. Totally agree. And I think to your first like point or question around like whether is it more difficult for international students to get a job, 100%. I think there's no like sugarcoating it. Like the fact that that you are an international students does narrow down your choices a lot. And so I think that just means that you just have to put in twice the amount of effort that anyone else have to do. And in terms of like advice, and to your question around like certifications and stuff like that, and while I think those are always valuable and always a nice to have, I don't think they are a necessity for you to get a job. Because coming out of college, even from a 4-year university, no one's going to expect you to be an expert in anything. If anything, I think employers are looking for self-starters, people who are willing to learn, people who get excited about things. And so I think that's why I would echo everything that Nike said. And more tactical advice, I think, would be to really try to find out what you don't know. Because I think the toughest part is you don't know what you don't know. And how can you kind of bridge that gap? And I think there are 2 ways you can do that. One is to really network as much as you can, right? So being in events like this, is a great start. You can connect with, Yahyah, Nike, or myself. I'm sure any one of us would be happy to chat further one-on-one and kind of talk to you further about what our experiences are like. And so just reaching out to people and finding out what their experiences are. I think a lot of times when I did that, I walked away with like, oh yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know I could do that, or I didn't know something about this or about that. And so that's one. And then the other thing I think is just being really on top of when the application timelines are. Because one thing that hit me very hard, especially going to UW, which starts, on a quarter basis compared to those that are on semesters, is that when we started back in like September, a lot of firms are already ending their application cycles in September, especially when you go to, uh, industries like accounting and consulting. They have very fixed and periodic recruitment cycles. And so when I went and started at UW, I knew nothing about internships. And so on top of having to, adjust to my new life in a four-year university, now I have to scramble and really get my resume together, learning about interviews and do everything at the same time. And so that is something that I wish I would have known before. And so what I just advise, like, just going online and seeing when the usual application deadlines are so that you can kind of mentally prepare yourself.
Awesome. Yeah, really good advice. I like that. Yeah. What would you have to add?
Yes. So honestly, I think almost everything has been told. So I'll try to reiterate on those and add a few things. So the question here, I think it touches on so many things. So like OPT and how to make yourself like stand out basically so that you can get a job. So I think, first of all, one of the things that we all have as a gift as being international is that we have an extra language. And so that helps. It won't necessarily help in terms of like you using it in your job, but it helps to show to an employer that, hey, like I have this language, I speak English fluently, I have other interests, I got involved on campus. And I think that's a good start, is getting involved on campus, even a small job. I remember when I was in GRC, I wasn't like working many hours. I just worked a little bit. I did a lot of volunteering, and I even one time in the summer, I went outside of GRC and applied for a volunteer opportunity at the Museum of Flight because I was interested in aviation and airplanes, and through that, honestly, I met a lot of people. Like you meet, you network through that, and it's something that I think it helped me even with my job interviews, and nobody told me to do it, right? So I followed my passion. So that's something I think Nike mentioned, is to go somewhere, even though it seems a little off of your path from your education, because that's something you are interested in. And it's because something you can talk to your employer about. It will show that you're passionate about it. So that's one thing. With OPT, I'm glad to hear that it's online now, because it sounds like it's making it much easier. For me, I had a not so good experience when I was at CLU. There's something really small in one of the forms. I think it's called Form I-765 or something like that.
That's right. Yep.
At the very top, at the very corner on the right, it's written in really small font that there's an expiration date. And so I took a wrong, like the outdated, form. I sent it out and I got a rejection. And so those things happen sometimes. And even my advisor didn't see it. It was really tiny. So anyways, just little details, pay attention to those. And other than that, I think everything has been said. Just to be yourself, talk about your passions. Your friends are your network. So like make friends and stay in touch with them, especially those who don't stay in touch with just friends that are in your field. And I think that's a good advice, because later on, you never know how you can, talk to other friends. And like right now, Nike's my friend. She's in accounting, and I have other friends too, and from different areas. And you could always sort of get advice from different people, and that's gonna make like a better sort of perspective for you. I think that's a good, a good thing to have is to keep good relationships with people.
Gotcha. That's good. Yeah, help inform that strategy kind of overall, right? Yeah, especially.
Yeah, don't be alone. Like don't go on your own on this path. Like, yeah,
I like it. All right, thank you guys. Really good answers there. I think very, very helpful. I did have kind of a follow-up question, and it relates to this. This is from a student who unfortunately couldn't end up making it here today. And it really is just kind of regarding internships specifically. And if you have any advice about finding an internship. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different than a job. Usually it's going to be, shorter, maybe 2 to 3 months, and it could be paid, it might not be paid. But do you have any advice about finding internships or getting an internship? And I'll just open it up to all of you. I'm not sure if everybody here did an internship or not, so. Oh, Nike, do you want to go?
So Zach, I saw you were going on mute, so I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep it short. I think so for me, I did my internship while I was at UW. And so I think that's a bit of a different experience if you're looking for an internship while at GRC. And so I think I was privileged in a way that at UW, it's a more structured process where, we have a lot of career fairs, employers come on campus. And so there's a lot more opportunities when UW is a target school where, companies are coming with the mindset of wanting to hire interns from UW. But if I were to try to put myself back in the position of being at GRC and looking for an internship, I think what I would have done is probably just going back to my maxim of trying to find out what I don't know. And so looking back, if I were there now, I would probably start with, going to advisors like Zach and say, hey, I want an internship. Like, I don't know where to start. Can you point me in the right direction? And then kind of maybe networking and connecting to people who might have done internships in the past, alumni like, ourselves now. And then from then on is really probably just doing as much of a secondary research as I can, just going online and seeing what are the companies out there that are doing internships. And yeah, and then just going from there. And then there's the whole process of preparing, which is a whole other conversation, but I think that's how I approach it for now.
Awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with Zach. So when I first came here, I became involved with a business professional organization, and I think that really helped me because you are assigned a mentor. So literally just a go-to person if you have any questions about career or like anything. So I think if there's one advice that I want to give is to find a mentor. So you can literally ask anything to them about your career journey, or even if you're unsure about what you want to do at your major. Because she literally helped me in every step of making my resume and then mock interviews and connecting with the right people. And then why a professional business organization is also helpful is because sometimes they pair up with companies. So they would have events exclusive with that organization, and you won't be able to go to that event unless you're a member. So yeah, that is really helpful.
Awesome. And Yahyah, did you did OPT, but not an internship, is that right?
No, yeah, I did OPT after GRC, so I did 2 OPTs, and
right.
I mean that could be seen as internship, but
For
it
sure.
wasn't the format of an internship, but it served the purpose of an internship. Absolutely. Because it helped me come back to the same company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. We have a new member in our audience, Maxim. Did you have any questions for our?
Yeah, I have an easy question about extracurricular activities at GRC. Were they important to join universities after it, or they were like just funny things?
Yeah, so how important were your extracurriculars? Maybe if you could tell us a little bit about what you did as an extracurricular at Green River, and then how important was that to your transfer? And we'll start with Zach here in the middle. I don't think we've started with you yet, so.
Yeah, for sure. my extracurricular were more during my time at GRC were more specific to like jobs. And so I think I at one time at like 3 different positions, like tutoring, or as a TA, or at the international programs office as well. And so I think that's where I like decided to focus a lot of my time outside of classes. And I think this serves the same purpose no matter whether is it like a paid job or just an extracurricular. And I think it has absolutely been like vital to, you know, transferring and even job interviews down the line. And so I think that's because, you know, even thinking back to like writing, you know, the transfer essays, or whether is it during an interview, there were multiple times where I brought up like my experiences back at GRC at those experiences, whether is it working with uh, the business office at the IP office, or even tutoring. I think those were like great interpersonal relationships of like just working one-on-one with students, were great to like showcase skills and something that I was really passionate about, which is helping people. And I think that kind of bled into other extracurriculars that I did while at UW as well. So yeah, I would still echo what Yahyah and Nike said, that don't do it for the sake of doing it. I think going for something that you're really interested and genuinely interested in, it comes through. I think it comes through whether it's in an essay or an interview, when you are really excited about what you're doing.
Awesome. And
Yeah, I totally agree with Zach. Oh, sorry.
Go
You can
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So for extracurriculars, I agree with Zach. It's really important because not only it shows you the soft skills that you gain from it, so it can be like totally unrelated. It can be, I don't know, anything. I was a cheerleader, so I talked about that during my interview too. And because as everyone mentioned, when you're an intern or even like a fresh grad, they don't expect you to know anything really. So they just want someone that that they can connect with, someone that has experience in like they have communication skills, leadership, teamwork, someone that works well in teams. So by showing your involvement in extracurriculars gives an opportunity for them to see how you have those skills. And it adds a personality. So you're more than a piece of paper and resumes and grades, because obviously grades are important, but everyone has that. So it gives you an extra personality for them to connect with you.
Awesome.
I will go next. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with both Zach and especially what just said Nike here. In fun fact, I just remembered something now. One of my experiences at GRC was my job as a volunteer opportunities chair, I think it's called. And in that job, I was, creating volunteer like events and bringing students from campus to go some places. And one of the events was to go to San Francisco to do volunteer events. And actually, that's how I met Nike. And so look at like it's really crazy how sometimes it's just and part of your job, you meet friends and you stay in touch with them. That was the fun part of it, of course. But if I have to like point out how that helped me with, let's say, job interviews, is similar to what Nike said about your leadership and how you communicate and how you empathize with people. That's a big one. Like how you display, how you put yourself in a group of people and lead them. So that's throughout that job I learned it a lot. Another thing, honestly, is like another experience I had was being part of the volleyball team. I know it's like not like a job or anything, but it was fun. I was able to make good connections and friends. And also as an international student, it wasn't easy to connect with domestic students. And that was one of those experiences that had like helped me break through that barrier. In fact, I'm still in touch with some of them, some of those friends that I made from the volleyball team. And also my coach, Mark Milston, I'm still in touch with him. He came to Seattle U a few times. I think his fiance at the time, she was doing an MBA program at Seattle U. And so I met them as I was doing, I was like an MC for a big event, and he was in the front row, and I didn't know. So like things connect, you know, along the way. And he was, him and his fiance offered help for any networking opportunities. So it really, it boggles your mind sometimes how it starts with, I'm just gonna go have fun at a volleyball team, and then you end up with good connections and things to talk about even in your job interviews. So just go out there, do something fun, and then try to connect the dots in the future. Look back, connect them.
Right. I think that's awesome. And I think one thing everybody's pointing out here is that when you're looking for that job or something, kind of connecting back to Elena's question, is they are hiring a person. Remember that they're not just hiring a cog in a machine, and so it's not just your grades or, hey, I have these certificates, but all those do help you stand out. But at the end of the day, they do want to know, who are they hiring, and by having those experiences, being even just volleyball team, but working in IP and connecting with mentors, this kind of gives you a chance, I think, to explore who you are, so that when they ask you, who are you, you can kind of give them some examples, and you have something to talk about there. So it's one thing that myself as an advisor, I always encourage students, and like Yahyah said, like Zach and Nike said, even if it's not directly connected to your major, we have students who are business majors, but they started esports clubs. They love playing video games competitively. Awesome. That's something about who you are. That probably takes a lot of teamwork if you're doing that competitively and doing it well. So it doesn't always have to be coming directly from the path that you're walking towards. So really good advice. Leap, I wanted to come back to you. I think you had a couple more questions. Is that right?
Yes, I did. So another one of my questions, like, how did your respective schools like help you find a way to break into the industry that you're in right now? And if there's like anything special that they did to help you in like that regard?
Yeah. We'll go back to our original order. Yeah. What did
Sure.
Seattle U do to help you get a job?
Yeah. So you will notice that once you transfer to a university, of course, because it's a bigger university in scale and resources, you will have access to things like we have something called Alber's. Alber's is the name of the business school, Alber's Placement Center. So this placement center basically helps you with anything that's starting from resume and mock interviews, how to improve your LinkedIn, how to communicate, writing essays. So they actually, sort of like what Nike earlier mentioned about a mentor, but this is like a service for free.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the business school. So depending on where you're going, you might look for those resources, look for something that the school can offer and that you should take advantage of. So that's one of them. Also, we did have a lot of those, what are they called? Career fairs so where companies come in, kind of like what Zach said. We have them like, I think in fall, we have like the biggest one where the major companies come in, and other terms we have like smaller companies or more like local from Seattle. So take advantage of those and prepare, show up and bring your resume, and more than just a resume, like prepare it to know how to talk. And that comes with practice, with you showing who you are, with being yourself. So I would say those networking events, the resources offered, also your friends. I'm going to emphasize on this a lot, because through one of my friends, I got the job on campus. And through that job on campus, I got a job at Amazon. And so just go out there with your friends and then try to like help each other. That's a big one. So you go to university and you expect the university to help you, but it turns out that your friends at university can help you. That's one of them. And honestly, like look for, I would say last point is look for guest speakers. If you guys, whenever you're going, you have events like, oh, hey, we have a guest speaker. In Seattle U, we had good connections with like big companies. So we had CEOs come in, like big firms, we're talking like from Microsoft to Boeing to Amazon to all of them just come in. Maybe you go to a school that doesn't have those big companies, but you still have any like senior director or something like that. You can talk to them, they can connect you. So I think those are the three things that can help you for sure when you're getting a job after school.
Great. Zach, yeah, what about Foster?
Yeah, everything that Yahyah said, I think was part of my experience as well. So I don't have too much to add. Maybe the only thing I would add on was just, apart from the services, like we call it the Foster Career Services, which is the equivalent of like a placement center. And I think specifically what was really helpful for me was a lot of info sessions that they put up with different companies, right? So I think when I first went into Foster, I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career, and I had no idea what companies did. Like, yes, I know Microsoft is a tech company, but what do they do really?
Right.
I can't even tell you right now, like in detail, what they do because they're so huge, right? So how do you know what you want to do if you don't even know what companies are doing? And so what those info sessions did was, bring in employees from, let's say, Microsoft or Amazon and come in and kind of talk about and share about what they do as a role. And oftentimes those employees that come would be alumni from your school, right? So like the info sessions that we put on are Amazon employees who were ex-Huskies or UW folks, right? So not only do I get to learn about what Amazon do, but I get to connect with what it means for a UW alum and graduate to be working at Amazon. And I think that really helped me crystallize like, what do I actually want to do after graduating from a four-year college?
Awesome. And Nike, anything to add?
Yeah, I totally agree with Yahyah and Zach about school resources. And just one thing that I want to add is professors. They're also a really good resource. I am still in touch with some of the professors in GRC. So every time I go to Seattle, I always grab coffee with them. And then another class that I was taking in UIUC, they even offered me an internship. And because you don't know, there are higher ups in the company or they have like past experiences. And yeah, you need a lot of experience to be a professor. So I advise you to have a coffee chat with them and see how their life story and what their life advices are. Because they have a certain amount of connections, and if you're close to them, so they can like hook you up. And yeah, even my professor helped me with my taxes this year. So yeah, just keep in touch.
That's great. I think one theme kind of connecting what all three of you said is that even though they have these services, there's professors out there, your friends, people coming, it all has to be very proactive from you. And Leap, I don't think you're going to have that problem. I know we've chatted a lot and I know you're quite involved, but maybe for anybody who's maybe watching this at home, who doesn't always get so involved or maybe is a little, I'll just use the word lazy as far as like going out and putting yourself out there. These services are definitely there, but you have to go and want them. You have to go and find them. People aren't going to come knock on your door and say, "Hey, that guest speaker, is speaking tonight." You've got to make those reservations, get those tickets, or make the time to go and use all those resources. So awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Something real quick about that. The last part you mentioned of how you are proactive. Make it sort of like a habit. If you have some sort of portal, what is it called that we had? Handshake. We had Handshake as one of our apps where you could like see all the events. So if you like make it something that's easier to access, if it's on your phone or computer, if it's something written on a board really far on campus, you probably won't go. Right. So if it's like, make the access easy and then try to always like look for events, look if there's a calendar, they'll update you, or sign up for email lists. So that's how first step of being proactive, and then you go to the events.
Yeah. If you're at Green River College, check the newsletter. I send that out myself every week, and it's chock full of stuff, but I also see how many students actually look at it, and it's not that many. So if you're actually looking at it and checking those things, you'll probably be first in line for a lot of, these maybe guest speakers or some of these other resources that are out there for students.
Social media also is a good big thing.
Yeah, connect on
of schools. Yeah.
Connect on LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Instagram. Okay, we are gonna, I'll start kind of wrapping it up a little bit, but there was one last question that I wanted to ask for you three in particular, because of the time and because of the experiences you guys have had to go through, mainly with COVID-19. And so my question really is, because we talked a lot about extracurriculars, we talked a lot about these other things. A lot of campuses are closed right now. A lot of students are studying online. What could you recommend to a student who, even, I know hopefully we're coming out of this in the next few months or the next year or so, but what could a student maybe be doing who isn't able to be on campus? Or what could a student do who's, doesn't really have a lot of access to these clubs or something like that? Would you have any recommendations for how a student could still try to get some of that experience or try to still be involved? Or maybe what you did during your time during COVID-19?
I can start out with a quick thought. And for me, it's really simple. I think it doesn't have to be a huge effort or Herculean effort by anyone. I think something as simple as remember the maxim of just showing up. I think just show up and be involved wherever you can. And the reason why I say that is so I'm involved with our company's recruiting efforts back at UW now. And so we often hold like events and recruiting events and stuff like that. And obviously attendance virtually has taken a huge dip, right? Because it's so much easier to just not go for something when you're at home. And so I think across all employers, we're seeing a decrease in engagement in the virtual environment. And so I think that goes back to just showing up for an event like this, right? You never know what comes out of it. And I think just being proactive and going out for anything that's out there as a first step. And then as you kind of go for these kind of things and you kind of learn new things, and again, finding out what you don't know, then you can kind of inch up and slowly, maybe connect with one person for this week. And then that leads to something else. And then that leads to something else. And so, yeah, I would say just start easy and show up.
I like it.
Yeah, I can go next. I totally agree with you, Zach. Showing up is honestly the first step, and that's also most of the work. I think honestly, I personally felt like with the pandemic, we've spent so much time on screens in general. So also take care of yourself and don't let so much information, from news, from TV to your phone, just try to slow that down. But also like what Zach said, look for those opportunities and go show up. Maybe you can connect with a lot of people there. And it's not because we are no longer in person that those events stopped. In fact, they might have increased because now it's easy to set it up. It costs less. It's just Zoom or anything to set up a meeting. So look for those events for sure. Sometimes they're called webinars, but they're in a format like this. Mm-hmm. So those are also big. You find them on LinkedIn. You find them on company social media. Sometimes I'm scrolling on LinkedIn. I find Amazon has a live, for example, with Alexa developers, and you can just ask a question. Something really, like Zach also said, it doesn't require too much effort. It's just deciding rather than putting in too much effort. Yeah, I think that's all I have. It's a really tough question because all of us have struggled. It's not oh, it's easy, and no, it's not. It's very it requires a lot of mental effort, and just last tip: just stay connected with your friends, family, professors, like Nike said, because your mental health is really important right now. And then with that, you will have the willpower to show up and go out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree with Yahyah and Zach. I don't really have that much to add, but check your emails because now since you can't really just show up and see there's an event, so checking emails is really important. But then again, you have to like pick and choose what events you want to go to because it can easily get overwhelming.
Mhm.
There's everything's virtual. You're on screen 24/7, and yeah, just choose what you want to do and what you feel like you need. Just listen to your sanity. And yeah.
Awesome. All right. Very, very cool. Well, you guys, I think that is all the time we have. We're running on about 45 minutes to an hour here, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. I was just going to open up to see if you had any parting words or any parting words of wisdom for our students who are here with us today, or the students who might be watching this recorded later. Any last pieces of advice?
Big one is don't be afraid to fail because you will fail and you need to fail because those experiences of failures are the ones that you will talk about later. If
I
it's
think,
all
yeah. You told me when you did your OPT, you applied for 50 jobs.
Well, probably more.
Probably
like
more?
100 or more. Yeah.
You got 3 interviews and then you got the one, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's always like that, like
So,
big, small.
If you need a ratio to go by, it's about 100 to 1.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Sometimes it's the same for universities also. When you apply to a ton of them, one is enough. One yes is all you need.
Gotcha.
And being, I guess I mentioned it earlier, but last like words of wisdom, if I have to say, is like having that positive attitude and that things will be better. I mean, they got better, I think, from last year. So and knowing how to spend your time, spend it with your friends, families, by yourself, like connect with yourself, and yeah, just don't be afraid to try something new.
Awesome. I like
all I
it.
have to say.
Cool.
I have 2 things to kind of, I guess, advice I would give myself like
Right.
4 years ago. And I think one is train, train the value of being proactive as a muscle. Because I really do think it's a muscle. It's not like whether you have it or not. It's something that you need to find as many opportunities as you can to push yourself, and so that it becomes a habit, and then it becomes part of you. And so whether is it in a class project, raising up your hand to say, hey, I would love to be the leader of this. I want to drive this, or whether is it raising up your hands to do something. So raise your hand as much as you can. That's the first one. And I think the second one is just remember to have fun. I think it's an awesome opportunity that won't come again after you're stepping out into the working world, working 5 days a week. It's not gonna be the same. And so I think taking classes that are outside of your major is a great way to do that. And so like one of my favorite classes at UW was an acting class. I was horrible at it, but I really, really enjoyed it. I took another, Pacific Northwest geology class, which I really enjoyed. So I learned about like forest and everything. And so I wished I would have done more classes like that. And I really, really had fun. And so that would be my second parting thought, is just to, get out there and just have fun and enjoy it.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure. I can't agree more with Zach. Just try to enjoy yourself. Because for me, as an introvert, I hate networking, recruiting. It's a nightmare because you have to be like the best version of yourself and talk to people and basically sell yourself to get a job. And that's just very draining for me. So it's important to take time for yourself and do the things that you like to keep you sane. And one thing I also realized in university is, well, when I was in GRC, I don't know, I was a bit like good grades or everything type of thing. If you don't get a 4.0, I'm really sad. But in university, I don't know, maybe it's just me because I'm not that smart, but now I just, every time I go to class, I just go there to learn, and I don't I don't want to say I don't push myself too hard, but it is what it is. If I work hard and I don't get like an A, it's not the end of the world. Literally, you will still get a job. Or as what other people like to say, C's get degrees, which is true, and they would most likely get a job. So just try to have fun and don't push yourself too hard. You want to kill yourself. Just enjoy the time in university. Because it is a lot of fun, and you're not going to get these years back.
Awesome. Definitely great words of wisdom from all three of you. I can't echo all of that enough, just as somebody who's a little bit ahead of you guys in years. Definitely working at a college, one of the things that I enjoy so most is I get to see you guys during that period of your life, and I get to do it all the time. So I get to kind of live vicariously through you guys, and so it's really cool to hear that you know that lesson was very real, and that you guys all captured it. So. All right, well, I know we have a ton more questions. Do you guys mind sharing your emails so that students can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, feel free to connect on whatever, LinkedIn or any social media. Happy to help anytime, yeah.
Okay. And then I think what I'll do is I'll include your emails probably in the notes for the video so students can connect with you or connect with you on LinkedIn or something like that. Well, I really appreciate it, you guys. And thank you also to our attendees who asked questions. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come and kind of like Zach said, raise your hand and be noticed. Who knows? You know, you guys might be seeing each other sooner than you think. So thank you, everybody. And we'll probably see everybody soon. See you later.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.